Euroz is a proudly Western Australian firm focused on building long-term wealth for local businesses and families. Euroz aim to provide clients with leading wealth creation solutions that encompasses proactive investment advice, financial planning and portfolio administration. Euroz Securities Executive Director and passionate Freo fan Lucas Robinson will help you kick more investment goals than you can poke a stick at and is the man you must speak to ASAP. So if you feel like your investments require restump, rewire, replumb, give Lucas a call on 08 9488 1424 or email on lrobinson@euroz.com, that's EUROZ.com, for a free financial health check. Because you should always let the cobblers do the cobbling, and as a cobbler, Lucas makes a damn fine investment advisor.
Hello and welcome to episode 28, season 4 of the Purple Rain with Duck and Oz.
Hey.
It's a special post-season, pre-trade. We're in the midst of things. I've just spent the last 30 minutes just preparing my trade stuff, and then St Kilda and GWS do a trade, which
Trade
were the picks
alert.
where I was about. And
How exciting
I
is it?
actually hadn't updated my my draft board, so I had GWS's picks all wrong anyway, but just redoing it on the fly, mate. It's all about the points. It's all about the math. Hey, let's get stuck into it, mate. It's a big month for the Fremantle Dockers, and like our mate Wardy says, October's our time.
It is.
We managed to...
Did not fail to disappoint again this year.
So we managed to put another Brownlow in the cabinet, Nathaniel Fife, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. We managed to wrap up the season with the Doig Medal, and we'll have a chat about that. And we managed to sign a brand new coach and maybe a new CEO and a new assistant coach as well.
Right.
So, yeah, and then we've got all the trades happening at the moment. So, Oz, let's just talk about you at the moment, mate, because you're feeling a bit under the weather.
Yeah, mate, bunny rubble trouble. I don't subscribe normally to the man flu. I don't believe necessarily that the man flu overtakes the normal flu and, holds you account, whatever. But, mate, this flu I've got at the moment, I'm on a second course of antibiotics. So, second day of antibiotics in, we go to the Doig. And fair to say, I was feeling how you were looking in the photo. But I put on the smile. We sat down, and I was totally cooked by just before the announcement of the Doig. And also, fair note to practitioners out there when they say that perhaps with antibiotics you shouldn't mix with the old cordials is good advice, because it didn't turn out well the next day. But I thought it would be better off, staying at the Crown Towers, all that sort of stuff, and I ended up just staying in bed, man. And this whole man flu thing, I'm now officially a subscriber to the man flu.
Yeah.
I'm on my second course of antibiotics. It ain't getting better. And the only thing that's keeping me going is news of trade. And I'm up and about.
Trade news,
mate. When I heard about, the assistant coaches and so forth, and fair to say the arousal curve was busted. Once we heard about J-Lo, we knew that was going to happen. Great. But then Josh Carr back, all of a sudden, tingles down the spine, hardness through the middle. Car crashes a go-go. I'm very excited by this. The new CEO being announced. Now, there's a lot of chatter about who it's going to be and all that sort of stuff. But I think right now, as a Freo supporter, you have to be excited about where the club's going. And you're going to talk about these trades in a minute. And just the caveat to the trade period is there's so much promise for the Fremantle Football Club. And I'm so excited about where the club is now. I know it seems weird because we missed finals last year. But there's the time of the year where Freo fans are so optimistic about the future, and we start banding about random statements such as, we're going to make finals next year. Yeah, Fife's going to get a total of 38 votes. I said something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Do it again. But, mate, hit us up with what you've got.
Look, I reckon let's talk about the Doig before we get into anything.
Sorry.
We'll go trades last, mate, and just keep that as a juicy dangler. So look, we went off to the Doig on Saturday night, mate. So it was really good time.
I can't see.
Mate, I was in fine form. I think I drank about a bottle and a half of red wine, mate, straight off the bat. And
shout out to the service lady. Just kept filling up the wine glasses.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Appreciate that.
Well, I just had a bottle in front of me, mate. I think you might find it was me that was filling it up. Hey, look, just on some of the awards, obviously. Fifey wins the Players' Player for the 4th time. Sandy wins the Clubman for the 3rd time. The Beacon Award went to Switkowski, and obviously don't want to start the pod on too much of a negative, but I tell you what, mate, the candidates for the Beacon were pretty bleak.
How come we didn't get a Guernsey in the Beacon?
For the Beacon, yeah, the best newcomers, mate. I think we're because they do the NAB rules, the NAB Rising Star rules minus the age. So, mate, I thought we're definitely a sniff.
Oh boy,
for the Beacon. So, look. Switter wins the Beacon, and look, he is a solid player, but you do get a little bit down and out when the Beacon's going to a guy who can't kick a goal and plays at the forward line. But
that's a bit of an oxymoron. Look, question without notice, Duck. There's a lot of talk in the media, and we were at the media table. There was only a couple people there from the media table. I think they saw us and they just fled. But there's a lot of talk about behind the scenes about apparently. Nat Fyfe not well liked by the playing group, all that sort of stuff, and yet the players voted him as. I mean, don't you think that's like a middle finger up to the media? They're like, hello, like you might want to get your facts right before you start.
Yeah, and I just think
I don't know. What are your thoughts? That's why it's a question.
Look, I don't really prescribe to that. I think he's like an interesting dude, Fyfey, and he's a bit chocolato, and I'm 80% sure he has some kind of lip filler because his lips are so juicy.
Asked me that,
mate. I was like, this is 80% done, that lip filler.
Pretty much. When you asked me that question, I remember most things that night. I'm pretty sure when you asked me that question, it was at about decibel plus 22.
Oh, mate.
Because a lot of people turned and looked, and I just did the nod.
Yeah, mate, definitely. 100% true. Just into some other awards. Obviously, a bit of Peel talk. Banners won Peel's Fairest and Best. So, just rounding out the top 10. Fifey, obviously, now a 3-time Doig medalist. Walters came second and also became a life member, and his speech was quite great.
Well done.
Bradley Hill came third, and mate, I've had a few people leave the place of work, including your good self. But that was the biggest goodbye from work speech I've ever heard. That was a big-time farewell speech, if ever I've heard one. So I think Bradley Hill, obviously, we all know the writings on the wall, so it just depends what we get for young Bradley. But look, Bradley Hill... third. Mundy finished fourth, which was quite interesting. The old man, the man who Father Time never ages.
Next week.
Langdon fifth, and by the looks and sounds of things, including a great message we got sent from one of our listeners, and I'm just going to bring him up now. Whose name is I think it was Adam something. Let me have a look. This is some great stuff, isn't it?
Can we just do like a bit of a filler? Through the night, they were putting some photos up of all of the players, and we ended up playing a bit of a, and drink responsibly, people, but a bit of a game that we played where every time we had a player each. I believe you had Dooman, and I had Nyhouse.
Yeah, Dooman and No. Nyhouse didn't get shown. I kept on, because I'd had a few too many, I kept on calling Dooman Nyhouse.
No, you had Dooman, and I had Nyhouse. Like, legit.
Mate, I saw Dooman at least 40 times.
Correct, hence the reason why you had Dooman.
Pregnant girlfriend. It was, Adam Loma, just getting back on track, who sent us a photo of all the stuff, a heap of Ed Langdon stuff he'd bought from an op shop. I think he had like a couple of jackets, a jumper, all this other stuff that he'd purchased for around $100, which
some
was
integrity.
Like good look.
Shots fired.
So Langdon finished fifth, Ryan sixth, Hamling seventh, Lob eighth, Brayshaw ninth, and Tucker 10th. And Lob, pretty good job, Lob, finishing eighth with who ended up missing about, I think he ended up missing about 8 or 9 games, Lob, in the end. So really good work from Lob. And obviously Alex Pearce was doing well in the first half of the season, then he goes down. He was polling really well. So look, a little bit of an interesting one there. Ryan probably would have finished in the top 5 if not missing that last month with a hamstring. Look, I guess the big thing is that Langdon and Hill are two potential outs heading into next year. Two of your top five. One of the guys, obviously Mundy, being the age of 33, turning 34 is a little bit of a problem. But, I mean, we retain and we continue to grow with those guys, mate, I think. What was your overall thoughts on the Doig?
Look, I enjoyed the night. It was a bit weird just sitting there and it was just us. So we were just chatting about pretty much anything came to mind. And then I just thought maybe in how they presented, like as they went through, I thought there was too much of a gap. So they could have gone, kept it going. So rather than going 1 to 4, like just keep it going, like so it's not just stop, start.
It's weird. They do the votes in 3 blocks, and they don't actually tell you who got votes for each game. I don't know if they do that in-house, which would be pretty awesome, old-fashioned medal count. But they do the votes, 3 blocks, 1 to 7, 8 to 14, and then 14 onwards, I think it was. Something like that. That sounds about right. Yep. But look, they do the votes like that, which is quite interesting, and they just bring up the leaderboard halfway through. But I was really surprised in the amount of like awards they give out for just, people who...
Oh, that I liked.
Yeah, so they
the recognition.
A lot of recognition
yeah.
awards for people
like
who've just done stuff for a long time and things like that. And they have service awards for people who aren't football players.
Yep.
Which is quite. I mean, it is a club as a whole, and it is like a business, I guess, as well, and a club. So you've really got to recognise those people who aren't necessarily on the ground. And
I'm gunning for that.
Yeah. I was like, mate,
down
here we
the
go.
track.
I was like, this is us, mate. Fingers crossed. We got it. All of them have done like 25 years of service. I'm like, 25 years of this pod, mate. 30 years' time.
Will podcasts still exist?
I just think we'll be sending it straight into the mind's eye, mate.
Yeah.
Straight in there.
Yeah.
Look, guys, let's move on to... What do you want to move on to, J-Lo, or you want to talk about Fifey's Brownlow?
This is a free pod, so you do whatever you want to do.
All right, so let's talk about Fifey's Brownlow, okay? And let's just have a little rundown of how Fife went. He ended up... I've got a blow-by-blow of each round, mate, and I'm not sure that's going to be that exciting. But look, he ends up on 33 votes, the Fife Meister General. Best on ground versus North Melbourne in the first game, which I thought was pretty dubious that Darty McCrafty didn't get that. Kicked 5 goals and had 20 disposals, but Fife ended up with 32.
With a new haircut and everything.
32 disposals. The loss against Gold Coast, which I thought Fife didn't actually play that well. He got 2 votes and he had 31 disposals. Then he didn't play round 4, round 3 and round 5 didn't poll any votes. Then he goes on a run, round 6, 7 and 8, bowls 3 votes in each of these games, including the win against the Western Bulldogs, in which he had 30 disposals and kicked a goal. The loss against Adelaide, which was the tight loss, the low-scoring dour affair, in which he had 32 disposals. And the loss against Richmond, where we got pretty much pants, but he kicked 3 goals and had 33 disposals. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
That game.
The greatness of the big man.
Then
Here we go.
He doesn't poll in round 9, and then round 10 and 11, mate, he got 3 votes each in those ones as well. So in the space of 6 games, mate, he got 15 votes. So that's where it is, and kicks a goal and has 26 disposals in the win against Brisbane Lions, where I thought maybe Walters was best on ground in that game, even though he kicked the points.
Yeah, a bit
at the
stiff
end.
there. Bit stiff.
Yeah, I think Walters kicked 6 against Brisbane. He had a dominant game against Brisbane. And then the win against Collingwood, in which he had 32 disposals. And, just his stats along the board. I mean, I've written them all down, but it is too boring to talk about. Then we have the bye round 12, and then round 13, 14 and 15. The win against Port Adelaide, he polls 2 votes with 37 disposals. The loss to Melbourne, which was a devastating loss, 31 disposals and 1 vote. And the loss to Carlton, 29 disposals, a goal and 1 vote. So essentially, mate, he goes, what was that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. And he polls in 8 of those 9 games. He actually polls in 11 of the next... 9 of the next 11 games, including 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 best ons.
Look,
so he has a steamer, mate.
Mate, I believe at the beginning of the season, received a bit of stick from my mates about my comments regarding Nathaniel Fife and how many votes he would get. I said, mate, he's going to poll in pretty much every game he plays.
Yeah.
So don't be ridiculous. I said, mate, Everyone loves him. He stands out.
He's got the armband now.
He's got the he stands out. But I think also because of his aerial ability, I think it magnifies his greatness through the middle. And I would not be surprised if he goes on and surpasses this year's count. If we start winning more games, he starts getting more threes.
More threes.
It's simple as that.
Yeah. Well, he got 3 votes versus Hawthorn. I went to that game down in Launceston and lost. He kicked 3 goals and had 24 disposals. Look, I didn't think he was that good in that game. Like, he kicked those 3 goals in a row
he did look
to
good,
get us back in the game.
He did look good.
I mean, just from sitting in the north end in the stands, like, you miss him there. Then round 20 and 21, he gets 2 best on grounds. Obviously, the win against Geelong, which he had 2 goals and had 27 disposals. And the loss versus St Kilda, which he was unstoppable, kicked 2 goals and had 35 disposals. Look, mate, in the end, the season average, he's had 29 disposals at 70%. He's kicked 16 goals, 13. He's averaged 18 contested possessions, 5 marks, 4 tackles, 1 goal assist, 6 score involvements, 8 clearances, 5 inside 50s, and 1 rebound 50 per game. So he's had a really big beast of a season, mate. Look, in terms of the votes, he got 33. Walter's got 11. Mundy 8. Ryan 4. Brad Hill only got 4 votes.
So what does that tell you?
I don't know. Like, they obviously don't rate his...
Nope.
Yeah. Weird. The umpires... Look, so I umpired twice this year, and I tell you what, doing the votes at the end is really hard. Like, to keep that in your mind. Now, I know the umpires look at the stats as well, but to figure out who's the best on and looking at that, it is really hard. And if you have, say, Fife, he's got the long hair, he's got the armband that stands out, he's obviously a known player. They look at the back and they look at the stats. Oh, Fife, he's got a fair bit of it. He's in the midfield, so you see him doing stuff. He takes the high marks as well. He kicks the odd goal. So, like, he's really a vote magnet, mate. And, you know, his voting capacity is just grown and grown. And I think he's, what do they say, he's second now all time to Hayden Bunton Senior or Junior or one of the Hayden Buntons. Just rounding out the other guys who got votes, Langdon 2, Carmack 2, Tabs 2, Brayshaw got 1, and Lob got 1. So, look, it's really interesting, Oz. I've got a bit of a hot take on Fifey. Yeah, what was your thoughts on Fifey before I give my hot take and we go to
for the Brownlow?
Yeah.
2015 was when he won his last one, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think I cheered as hard in 2015 as I did this year because I was sitting there watching it live, and every time you got his 3, I was giving it some in the family room. Christine pops in, head around the corner, and she goes, just remember your kids are in bed. I'm like, yeah, no worries. Keep going. I really enjoyed it from the team's perspective and the speech and he's astute, so he knows what he's doing. And whether it's calculated, who cares? He just said the right things. And how he recognised Conker and Doctor Who we've said all year, just goes about, does his thing. No one really knows who Doctor Who is. And even Robbo on AFL 360 had no idea who Darcy Tucker was. Conker and that other guy.
The other guy.
And by the way, Tucker's a handsome man. Like, when they started putting pictures of him, I'm like, he's pretty handsome. But I was very happy with the Duck. I'm interested in your take on it, but I think he's finding his feet as a captain. I'd be interested to see where they go next year. But my question is, on the end of your hot take, can we afford to actually be moving him into that centre-half forward position, given...
Oh, I don't think... I mean, when he's the best midfielder in the comp, you cannot get him out of the midfield and into the forward line. Look, he managed to kick 16 goals this year, which was pretty good. If he can bob up and kick that one, go forward, out-muscle someone like he did to Lockie Neal, drag someone down there. But the thing is as well, I suppose if he is getting tagged out of a game, which it very rarely happens, he can go forward and, change that up. Sorry, I'm clicking that pen in the mic.
That's all right.
Mate, my hot take is this, and you may need to get the old beeper out, mate.
Oh, God, here we go. Hang on.
A lot of people ask me, mate, write down the time of this because you might need to post-edit it.
1930. Yep, go.
Mate, people kept asking, you must be happy. Like, being a big Freo man, everyone knows I go for Freo. You must be happy that Fife won the medal. Blah, blah, blah. Mate, I could not give a about Fife winning the Brownlow, mate. Like, honestly, I couldn't give 2 shits. Like, seriously, I don't fucking care. Like, people kept telling me, you know who I go for, Oz?
Who's that?
I go for Fremantle. I don't go for Nat Fyfe.
Yeah.
I honestly do not care about individual awards. I could not give two shits. If Fyfe
I'll
wins,
keep that one in. That's
if
good.
Fyfe wins 5 Brownlows
Yeah.
and we don't win the flag, what does it matter?
I think I was a little bit more invested in the fact that we won nothing this year, hence the reason why I was willing to jump on a bandwagon.
Man, but like, honestly.
No, I get what you're saying.
You know what Brownlows are worth, mate, in the scheme of things?
Hang on, let me write this
You
down
ready?
again. Hang on.
They're worth 4/5 of all, mate.
Okay,
that's
good.
it. All right, on that note, let's go to a break, Oz.
Come on. Ah, come on. Duck, have you ever had problems with computers, mate? Look.
Every day of my life, mate, is a problem with the computer.
Well, you know what, mate? I've got a solution for you, buddy. Just Make It Work will take care of all your IT problems and help you use technology to reach more people, make more money and waste less time. You can relax knowing you're in the hands of real Dockers supporters. Get on to jmiw.it, call or email and mention the Purple Rain for 20% off your first project with Just Make It Work, Duck. I suggest you get around it.
Welcome back to episode 28 of the Purple Rain here with Duck and Oz.
Purple Rain.
I was feeling a bit under the weather. Hey, look, guys, we're going to get into the two. Obviously, the trade period's going to be right at the end. We're going to talk about that, but let's talk about the coming home of J-Lo, mate, and Justin Longmuir is back.
He's
back in
mate.
town.
He's
and,
back, mate.
You
Keep
know,
going.
the big thing is whether or not J-Lo, that's what we call him again. Do we go back to J-Lo? Do we call him Justin? I know some of the players are a bit trepidatious in what to call him. Obviously, being the coach, and J-Lo, you know, it's more of a friendly term. Let's get loud, baby. Let's get loud. Look, mate, I love this before we do talk about him. The fact that our man, and one of the most informative reporters going around, said that Justin Longmuir was going to go to Carlton at
boy.
one stage. And I think it was Mike Sheehan reported it. And then our man Haggers
Haggers
came out on 6PR, a.k.a. West Coast channel, came out and said, Sumich is a lock and Longmuir's going to go to Carlton as an assistant coach instead. Like, if you think about it, Oz, all right, if you get the chance to get a promotion or you can move sideways, and they're like, oh, no, I'm just going to move sideways. Like, I'm not going to go for this promotion that people think I'm really good chance for. Anyway, in that time, Langdon, Longmuir ballooned out to $5 on the odds.
Oh, boy.
And shout out to Monkey and Juddy on the Dork Talk, who loaded up, put $100 each on it.
Oh, boy.
Loaded up, and then his odds just came tumbling in. And, of course, the reports were that Sumich didn't interview well, potentially, something about a CEO, but who knows what that was. But I think in the end, mate, it was always going to be a lock in Justin Longmuir coming back to the Dockers. I think the fact that he's a Fremantle guy, he comes highly touted. Look, just to let you guys know, obviously he's 38 years old. He's on a 3-year contract. Picked 2 in the 98 draft. Played 139 games from 99 to 07 for Freo. Retired after a degenerative knee injury. Was a Freo development coach 2010, West Coast development coach and assistant from 11 to 17. And I believe he ended up taking Peter Sumich's job after he moved to the Dockers. And then at Collingwood, he was a senior assistant there in 18 and 19, obviously. Taking both those teams to pretty good heights as a senior assistant as well. And look, I mean, he comes highly credited, and he's obviously he needs to work on his media, not being Ross Lyon, who obviously
That's a tough act to follow.
Oh no, a very hard act to follow, and Ross Lyon will go down as probably one of the greats when it comes to the media conference and stuff like that. And, you always wanted to watch Ross Lyon, but he's been out and about, he's talking, he's getting around it, and the more media he does, the better he'll get. But, I guess what we want to see is him continue to develop. I think he needs to have a good assistants around him. Now, we're not sure. We know David Hale stays on, and we know that Josh Carr has signed up, and we'll talk about him in a sec. But
I believe Anthony Rock's also
signed on. So, Anthony Rock, good assistant. So, whether or not those other guys stay on, Michael Pryor, I know Guerra's already gone. I'm just trying to think who else is in there. Roger Hayden's still there. Tendai Mzungu's still floating around. Webby, yeah, whether or not he stays on. So, look, it'll be very interesting to see whether or not those coaches stay on and whether or not they bring in some more senior assistants and an actual senior assistant around him. But, this is the thing, mate, and I'll talk about Josh Carr in a sec. But, look, obviously the brother of Tilo, one of the greats with the glove, a sheep farmer from Quarter. The Donny stud of Muller and Rock, that his old man owns, a sheep and wheat farmer. So good humble background, good humble, where he's from. He's a good country boy, which I love to see as well. Look, I think realistically, the real thing that I would love to see is, and I know that people have talked about this, but maybe a Don Pike come over as a senior assistant to mentor. Maybe like a director of coaches kind of. You just make up a position. But I'm not sure how much money we got in the old salary cap. But I'd say that, potentially Carr and Longmuir both took pay cuts first. Like if they've got 3-year contracts, first year's not much. Next 2 years are loaded. So back end loaded, as we like to call it. Your thoughts on the hiring of Justin Longmuir, mate?
Oh, mate. Excited.
Yeah.
And, we want to make it very clear that we appreciate, what Ross has done for the club, but this is a new era. So, speaking from, that perspective, I was very excited to see someone who comes as highly recommended as what J-Lo has. And that's not to say that Peter Sumich didn't have the same recommendations, but from what I hear, he's just a football nerd and he's just astute when it comes to, making right moves, understands players, knows where to put them, high priority on skills, and is a family guy. Now, I like that because as players develop from the youth as they develop through their years, they eventually start bringing families through, and that's what the club needs to go to. It needs to be a family-orientated club where players want to stay there. You need to retain players. You can't keep rolling over players every 3 or so years or 4 years when their contracts roll up. We have to stop the likes of Ed Langdon wanting to go home, Brad Hill wanting to come back and then all of a sudden wanting to go home again. You don't want to lose players. We want to retain players.
Yeah.
So I think in many respects, the facilities and results will speak for themselves, but you want to create that culture. And I think that's not to say that it wasn't the case before, but I know that that's a priority. So for me, J-Lo's, how he speaks in the media, that is irrelevant to me right now. It's all about the message that he sends to his players and the faculty staff, the people at Fremantle, and hopefully they're re-energised and are up and about with a new acquisition and a new direction going forward. I think the mantra that we heard on the night of the Doig Medal was, I think it's to be the best you can be or something along those lines. I kept saying it. I like that. I like putting people in the right positions to make their own decisions about their future and making good decisions. And I think that'll breed success. I think we need to be mindful that he is a first-year coach coming out. So there are going to be teething issues. We know this is going to happen. But, mate, I see us being in the next 2 to 3 years, I see us as being a contender.
Yeah.
If we're fortunate enough next year to make finals, great. I think with our best side, we can match it with anyone. We've seen this. Trade period's still going on, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. I can't imagine there being too many pickups that, perhaps that we haven't foreseen. But the development in skill, I think you're going to see a transformed group, like that emphasis on skills.
Yeah.
Being able to hit a target.
Be nice.
Yeah, it'd be
good.
pretty good. But I'm
And
excited.
if they can stick with as well their blue collar hardness and that Freo brand of tough football, I think that's important. But yeah, it's just a 5-10% improvement on skill. You know, and
that's all it is, mate.
know.
That's all it is.
You never know from there.
We're not saying daylight between skills and what they need to be, but it's just you tweak it. So instead of missing someone by an inch or whatever, you actually hit them.
Yeah.
And then that just flows on to the next chain. So that's
it, mate. Josh Carr. Obviously,
are you happy about it?
Yeah. Oh, mate. To be honest, like I don't know. Like realistically, on the outside looking in, we don't know what makes a good coach in terms of like who is actually a good assistant out there. So look, the proof will be in the pudding and how well he goes. I actually think next year we may regress a fraction as we get new game plans integrated. If we lose Hill and Langdon and we bring in younger players, I think we're going to regress a fraction. But, I mean, a lot of our... Look how good we were when we had our best 22 on the park. But we're going to lose a bit of that outside run. We'll talk about that in trades. A couple of guys we might want to pick up. One of them might not be too popular with the listeners. Mate, Josh Carr also comes across. Obviously, 83 games from the Dockers from 05 to 08. Port Adelaide assistant from 11 to 15, so 5 years as a Port Adelaide assistant. Yeah. In their little golden era they had there in 13, I think was their one good year that they had. 13, yeah, that was it. And then after that, they've always had potential, but yeah, nothing really much to show for it. Coach of the North Adelaide Roosters from 2016 2019 and won a flag in 2018, their first flag in ages, mate. So very interesting. So yeah, look. I think he'll bring a wealth of experience, and being a senior, like a guy who has been a senior coach as well, is very important. I think not only that, like people who are just assistants, but it's interesting. I was talking to my mate from the Eagles, Macca, and he was saying that at West Coast they've got it now, so all the assistants are in the same room.
Yep.
Okay, and I think this is very important. Sounds like a weird concept, but essentially what it is that it keeps accountability between the assistants. So you can't have a bit of a rogue assistant. So everyone's getting the same message from Simo, or, Adam Simpson, and then that's getting filtered down through the assistants. And if one of the assistants kind of goes off kilter a bit, the other assistants actually say, "Hey, no, mate, that's not what we want. We want this." So I think that might be something that they could develop at the Dockers, because each assistant, I think, has their own little room. And I mean, I know they do that at Richmond as well, mate. I'm talking about
bash walls,
taking some walls out.
We'll go down there with a sledgy.
Open
help out
planning,
volunteer,
mate. All right, let's get into some trades. Okay, now look, one trade obviously is that will go down is the Brad Hill trade. Now, we've just seen that in literally the last 20 minutes, sorry, mate, we've had St Kilda and GWS do a pick swap, and essentially they've traded pick...
pick 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, pick 6. You might need to edit this bit, mate, because I'm a bit ratty. They've traded. Let's have a look here. So GWS traded pick 6 and like pick 60 or something for St Kilda pick 12 and 18. So St Kilda now have pick 12 and 18, and it makes it a little bit interesting in terms of what's going to happen in the Hill trade. Do we just get pick 12 for Hill, which probably isn't what was desired? Okay.
No, that's a big no. That's a hard no.
Or do we get pick 12 and 18? Now, if you add those points up, the points are way off, because it's all about the points. So when it was previously going to be pick 6 is worth about 1,600.
1,600.
So pick 6 is worth 1,751, and pick 12 is 1,268, and pick 17 was it? Is 1,025. So the points are off a bit. So look, it'll be interesting to see, but you never know. We may get those two picks. I guess the thing we've got to talk about, Oz, which I'm a little bit afraid of now, is Ed Langdon, man.
Just before we go there,
before we talk about Ed Langdon altogether, what do you think is actually reasonable for Brad Hill? He's got 2 years left on his contract.
2 first-round picks. Hold the phone.
2 first-round picks, you
reckon? Yep. Well, what did Tim Kelly get? And I know Tim Kelly was up there in the Brownlow, but how many years has Tim Kelly been playing in the AFL?
I think this is his
Second year.
He's
Yeah.
about-
How many
about
years?
The same age?
Yeah, but how many premierships has he won?
None.
Okay, so how many has Brad Hill won?
Yeah, he's won 3.
Yeah. So how many best and fairests has Brad Hill won?
He's won 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many top 3 or 4s has he finished in?
I
You
don't
see
know,
where
for
I'm going
us-
with this?
For us, he's finished second.
Yeah,
I guess.
but can you see where I'm going
Yeah,
with this?
there,
There is
mate.
no way that if Tim Kelly is going for what he went at,
Yeah.
and well done to West Coast for being willing to put up what they did for him, because they're in that premiership window, so I understand why they launched everything at him. But if that's what Tim Kelly gets, then we've got to have something similar with Brad Hill.
Yeah. So the Tim Kelly's a year younger. Obviously, little less miles in the legs than Brad Hill, but I think Brad Hill's probably the most explosive wingman. Look, I think we always over-evaluate what our players are worth and how good they are. I think Brad Hill's skills, interesting, but he ran all day, and his work on the cross half, like from half back to half forward on that wing was very vital to the Dockers, and he was a vital link in the cog. I think, or cog in the. Is that right? Link in the cog? No, that's not a thing. Cog in
Link in the chain.
Link in the chain.
Yeah.
Yes, cog in the machine.
Cog in the machine.
But look, I think if we can get... The problem is with St Kilda is that they don't have any second rounders. So at the moment, St Kilda have got pick 12, 18, 76 and 82. I mean, that's not any use for us. What we want is that pick 12 and 18 potentially. Look,
Yep.
what I was looking at previous to us going on air was a pick swap with GWS for pick 7. That's our original pick. And 26, which is also our original pick for pick 12 and 16. And what the points add up for that is, it ends up being 2,373 points on our behalf and 2,335 points. So it's only 40 points of difference.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
So that's more of a fair trade. So that's what I would be looking at in that circumstance. I thought we would have got pick 6, just pick 6 for Hill, but now this spanner in the works has kind of made it a bit interesting. But look, if we were potentially Oz, I mean, the other option would be if we were to trade, because I guess the points are out now in what pick 6 was worth and what pick 12 and 18 are worth now as well. Look, the points are just out by too much in terms of what we're... But if we got both pick 12 and 18, so we end up with 7, 12, 18, and 26 going into the draft. That's really exciting. What I would like to see even more, however, Oz, is that we've got 2 guys that we can have a little bit of a chat to. Okay, now I honestly think we'll talk about this first part of the trade. Ed Langdon for pick 22. I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
And the reason why I don't think it's going to happen is because of this, mate, and this is a bit of dire news that I've come across today. Greenwood from Adelaide, if they can't get a deal done, he's willing to walk to the Gold Coast in the preseason draft. It's the thing that everyone forgets is the preseason draft. Okay, the preseason draft for uncontracted players, they go into that. You do not get any compensation in the preseason draft. It's just a draft they do for uncontracted players. Unfortunately for us, if this was to go ahead, Gold Coast pick up Greenwood, pick 1, pick 2 is Melbourne.
Yeah. I think...
So essentially, Ed Langdon can walk for nothing.
And
mate.
I know that that's a possibility, but remember that negotiations go on in good faith, and you've got to continuously deal with said clubs. And if that was the screw over of all screw overs for Greenwood just to go, I'm walking, he'd be the first to do it. He'd be the first player to actually go, I'm walking, see you later.
Yeah,
And
in a while.
Yeah.
Since free agencies come in, I don't think anyone's gone, I'm just going to go to the preseason draft and I want to go to that team who's got pick number 1.
Yeah.
So what does it matter? I'll just go.
Yeah. Now, obviously, speaking of contracted players or contracted people, it would have been very interesting to see what strategists like that Banook guy, what he would have done at Adelaide. I reckon this might have been a done deal. But, we have to remember that negotiations will go on in good faith. I can't see us getting nothing, but I think we have to be careful.
I think we'll get we won't get pick 22, mate. I think we'll get pick 42, unfortunately.
Mm.
Which probably isn't his worth.
No, because he's
But he's
played
an uncontracted player.
Yeah.
He's played his 50 games, and I think that's all we'll
I was
get
going to
now.
say he got his 50 games in.
If we do get pick 42 for Langdon, this is what I'm proposing.
Here we go.
All right. Well, we've got pick 7.
You going to throw in Brayshaw there, mate? Because if you're not going to be disappointed.
I don't think we're getting Brayshaw.
Because I reckon that's the only reason why Freo would settle on a pick 40 is if they sweeten a deal with a little bit of Brayshaw and we give them
better
something.
than Langdon, mate.
Yeah, no,
so
no.
It'd have to be the other way around.
No. What I'm saying is that we'd be willing to try.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then later on we can
Correct.
trade.
Yeah.
But I'd do this, mate. Pick 7, which is a few points monsters, as we like to talk about. No, pick 7 and 42. So pick 7 ends up being 1,644 points, and pick 42 is did I get that right? Pick 42, sorry, is 395 points. We trade that with Geelong, who've got pick 14 and 17. So Geelong move up to, they get pick 42, which is a bit later on the draft, and they also get pick 7. And we get pick 14 and 17. Now, if that was the case, Oz, we would end up, our first 4 picks would be 12, 14, 16, 18, and then we'd have our own pick at pick 25.
Yeah, that's good. And I'll tell you why it's good, because our first pick is probably going to be, well, if it's there and thereabouts.
No, 26, sorry, not 25, yeah.
I'd probably say in midway through there, you're looking at Liam Henry.
Well, mate, these are the guys and where they're projected to go. Pick 12, and this is from the AFL.com. Robertson.
Yep.
The captain of the
Lark medal winning.
yeah. Pick 14. Why not? Jackson, the ruckman.
Yep.
Then we've got Henry around pick 16 or 17 or 18, sorry. Rivers, who is a halfback flanker, and Sharps, who's a halfback flanker. Rivers, mate, we got all WA guys. We
That's
could
what I
go
want.
5 WA
We've
guys.
been saying it.
5 WA guys.
Preach to me, homie.
But the thing is, Oz, is that if this is to occur, we've got to understand that we're taking a little bit of a step back, and we're priming to win a flag at the end of the 3rd or 4th year. You know what I mean? That's the really hard thing.
Yeah, it's X plus 3 when players come into their prime or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, especially for those young guys. But I don't see inside midfielder, a ruckman, a small forward, a classy halfback flanker. I mean, these guys are all ticking boxes of what we really need in terms of our depth, mate.
Yeah.
You know, and if we can have, and I know this is pretty unrealistic, but if we can get 5 picks inside the top 25, I mean, that's... And when you... the thing is as well is that most of the WA guys are actually projected to go 12 plus.
Yes, correct.
Like none of them are really projected to go
I'm
later,
okay with that.
You know, and we
I'm
could
fine
even
with that.
wait and just keep waiting and then just match the Henry bid when we get to it.
We're just lucky Richmond doesn't have any early picks, mate, because they'll be getting all the WA players.
Yeah, well, no, they just wait till later, mate. They're just they're smart. So look, guys, I mean, I don't see us. The players I see us maybe getting in Oz.
Here we go.
You ready for this one? We'll start off. Maybe McIntosh from Richmond.
Yeah. Are you going to say Connor Menadue in there?
No. Don't know about Connor
I
Menadue.
reckon Connor Menadue's on the radar.
Menadue, eh?
Yep.
Is he WA guy or not?
Yes.
He is. Don't know. I wouldn't know.
Question, actually.
What's his name?
Connor Menadue. I've heard that talk going around from my sources.
Yeah. Sources say.
Sources say.
Connor Menadue. What do we got here? Richmond Footy Club. Debuted. Looks like a bit of a... He is from... No, he's from Western Jets. So he's
Interesting.
a Victorian. Come across. Interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he's been at Richmond since 2015. He's only played 39 games, mate. I don't know. He's just a depth player, isn't he? Maybe Brayshaw, like we talked about.
Oh,
If we got Brayshaw, it'd be good. Good,
Oh, baby.
good another inside mid. And obviously he adds that toughness. And you forget he came second in the Brownlow a couple of years ago. People forget that.
they could do like a fun thing, like a helmet swap,
Yeah.
and then like number swap at halftime and see if people can pick it.
But the one guy who is a delisted free agent, mate,
I know where you're going with
Plays
this
on
one.
the wing, bud.
Hungry Jacks.
And he's got a tattoo of an owl on his leg.
Yep.
If that doesn't tick boxes, I don't know what does. But, mate, I think Chris Maston has a little bit to offer
Yeah, legit.
for the Dockers.
Yeah, I agree.
I said offer, then offer. If we lose both wingmen,
Yeah.
we've got a guy who's played 200 games coming in. He's still got his pace. You know what? His disposal isn't that much different to Langdon or Hill.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
You know, you need those guys who are quick on the outside to maybe help out a bit.
And he
but-
showed towards the end of the season there that he had something to give.
Yeah, I think the only thing with poor old Masto is that he plays well when their
team's up and about.
When their
Yeah.
team's up and about, whereas we need some guys who will play well no matter what the circumstances.
Now, the question I have for you here, Doug, is, first of all, will someone who is held in high esteem at the Eagles, goes out delisted, gets his farewell, would he be willing to come to Fremantle? He said he wants to keep playing.
Yeah.
Now, to me, if you want to keep playing, beggars can't be choosers, young man.
Yeah. Well, whoever's offering him a contract, I think he'll play, mate. I mean, the step down in money to go down to the Waffle or go down to the second league is a big step down as well. He wouldn't be on a great deal of money anyway. Like, you're not going to pay him a lump sum or, like, you're not going to pay him king's ransom. I'd say he'd be on like $100,000.
Yeah.
That. He'd be on the low end.
He'd be great on a finishing team. Do you know what I mean? Like a team that's
But-
almost there.
Yeah, as well, like, when we think about it, like, if you look at our team, okay, Langdon, and if we don't bring any players in, all right, which is very, very likely, if we don't bring anyone in and we get these draft picks, we got these 5 draft picks potentially inside the top 25, which may happen. It can still happen. Mate, the big thing is like, where are our wingers? Who are we going to play on the wing? Like, who's got our pace? You know what I mean? Like,
well, my dream is Willow and Logue, but
yeah, well, and does Stephen Hill come back and maybe slim down and go out to a wing? But we're relying on guys who have never played on the wing.
Yeah, correct.
Are injury prone.
What's a
Or
little
aren't quite
optimism
there.
to get in the way of reality?
Yeah, that's it. Look, guys, on that note, we will wrap it up, guys. We may have unless there's like big trade news, I don't think we'll have another pod until potentially before the draft.
And shout out to the Fremantle Dockers for hosting us at the Doig again. Thank you very much for the ticks. Really appreciate it. Good to catch up with the team who were, and it must be said, that media team were working
like a dog.
like
Woody may have told me to just move out of the area because I was like pretty drunk.
maybe you
Trying to
accused them
crack
of
gags
playing
that they were playing Age of
Minecraft or whatever.
Empires.
Yeah, Age of
Minecraft.
Empires.
I was like, swipe that screen across. This kid's playing Minecraft. And thank you very much to all the media team at the Dockers. Outstanding job again, and we'll continue to press on. Guys, remember, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes if you can. Anywhere else you get the thing. If you'd like to become a patron, feel free to drop some doll hairs in.
Yeah,
we actually need to upgrade our software.
because it no longer works with the new iOS. So
is gonna cost-
bunny rubble trouble
A couple of hundos.
at least.
So, thank you very much to everyone. Please remember to tell a friend. Let's hopefully we get a bit optimistic going into next season. We may have a little post draft, I think, special with. We might try and see if we can get Travis King on the show.
Yeah, get Kingy on. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Remember to tell a friend, especially a Docker's friend. And, we'll keep you up to date on all our social media stuff. I'll keep tweeting and Facebooking and Instagramming. That's all at Purple Rain 95.
Love your work, mate.
See ya.